Ever wondered how sending Christmas cards became a global tradition? Or why some people write Christmas instead of Christmas? Well, you're about to find out. Today, we're unwrapping the surprising stories behind these holiday staples. From a clever business idea in Victorian England to an ancient Greek abbreviation. Let's start with the story of the very first Christmas card. Our journey begins in 1843 London with a man named Sir Henry Cole. He was a busy guy, a senior civil servant who helped modernize the postal system. Back then, it was customary to handwrite long personal letters to friends and family during the Christmas season. As you can imagine, with a large social circle, this was incredibly time-consuming. Cole was overwhelmed with the pile of unanswered letters and needed a faster way to send his holiday greetings. So he had a brilliant idea. He commissioned an artist, John Callcott Horsley, to design a festive card. The illustration was a triptych, a 3-panel design. The center panel showed a happy family raising a toast, while the side panels depicted acts of charity, feeding the hungry and clothing the needy. Below the images was the now famous greeting, "A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you." Cole had 1,000 of these cards printed. He signed some for his own use and sold the rest for $1 each. This was the birth of the first commercial Christmas card. Now, $1 was quite expensive back then, roughly the daily wage for a laborer, so not everyone could afford them. But the idea was out there and it caught on. A key factor in its success was the recent Victorian postal reform, which Cole himself had championed. The introduction of the penny post in 1840 allowed anyone to send a letter anywhere in the country for just 1 penny. This made sending mail accessible and affordable for the masses. As the postal system became more efficient, the idea of sending a pre-printed card became increasingly appealing. The real game-changer, however, was a printing technology called chromolithography. This technique allowed for mass production of colorful images at a very low cost. Suddenly, beautiful, vibrant Christmas cards were no longer a luxury item. Printers started producing cards with all sorts of designs. While early cards often focused on religious themes or charitable acts, the variety quickly expanded. You could find cards featuring snowy landscapes, festive gatherings, flowers, and even humorous scenes with animals acting like people. The Victorian era loved its sentimentality and its humor, and Christmas cards reflected that perfectly. The tradition exploded. But what about America? The trend crossed the Atlantic thanks to a man named Louis Prang, a German immigrant who set up a printing shop near Boston. He is often called the father of the American Christmas card. In the 1870s, Prang began producing high-quality, beautifully artistic cards. They were so well made that they were more like small pieces of art. He even organized nationwide design competitions to find the best artists. Prang's cards became incredibly popular, and by the 1880s, his company was printing millions of them each year. The rise of the Christmas card industry marked a significant shift. What started as a personal, handwritten tradition was becoming a major commercial enterprise. Companies competed to create the most attractive and desirable designs, and people began to expect a card from everyone they knew. It was one of the first signs of the commercialization of Christmas, a trend that would grow exponentially over the next century, transforming the holiday into the economic powerhouse it is today. So every time you lick an envelope or click send on a digital card, you're participating in a tradition that started with one very busy man looking for a clever shortcut. Now, let's switch gears and tackle another common Christmas sight: the word Christmas. Have you ever seen it and thought it was a modern, secular attempt to take the Christ out of Christmas? It's a common misconception, but the truth is actually the complete opposite. The term Christmas is not a modern invention, nor is it disrespectful. In fact, its origins are deeply rooted in Christian history, going back over 1,000 years. To understand it, we need a quick lesson in Greek. The word Christ in Greek is Christos, which begins with the letter chi. And what does the Greek letter chi look like? It looks exactly like the Roman letter X for centuries. Scholars and scribes used X as a shorthand or an abbreviation for Christ. This practice can be traced back to early Christian manuscripts. One of the earliest known uses of X to represent Christ dates all the way back to the year 1021. Scribes writing religious texts by hand would use this abbreviation to save time and precious space on expensive parchment. X became a well-established and respected symbol for Christ. Following this logic, Mass is simply the Old English word for a festival or Mass. So Christmas is literally Christ's Mass. So far from being an attempt to remove Christ from the holiday, Christmas was created by Christians as a reverent shorthand. It's as an abbreviation that preserves the name of Christ using the first letter of his name in Greek, the original language of the New Testament. Think of it like using Mr. for Mr. or Doctor for Doctor. It's just a shortened form that everyone understood. Over time, as fewer people studied Greek, the original meaning was forgotten by many, leading to the modern misunderstanding. Some people now see it as a commercial or secular spelling, but its history is sacred. It's a fascinating example of how language evolves and how the original meanings of words and symbols can get lost over generations. So the next time you see Christmas written on a sign or in a message, you'll know its true story. It's not a slight against religion, but a nod to a long and devout history. It's a tiny piece of linguistic history hiding in plain sight during the holiday season. From a time-saving invention that launched an industry to an ancient abbreviation that's widely misunderstood, the traditions we take for granted often have the most incredible backstories. It just goes to show that there's always something new to learn, even about the most familiar things. Have you ever wondered why we bring a tree into our house for Christmas? Or why we hang mistletoe? The traditions we love so much have fascinating and sometimes surprising histories. Let's explore 9 Christmas traditions and uncover where they really came from. First up, the Christmas tree. This iconic symbol started in 16th century Germany. Long before Christianity, ancient cultures used evergreens to celebrate life during the dark winter solstice. They saw these plants, which stayed green all year, as a symbol of resilience and the promise of spring's return. The modern Christmas tree tradition, however, is often credited to Martin Luther, the Protestant reformer. Legend has it that he was so moved by the sight of stars twinkling through evergreen branches that he brought a tree indoors and decorated it with candles to recreate the scene for his family. But it was Queen Victoria and her German husband, Prince Albert, who truly made the Christmas tree a global phenomenon. When a London newspaper published an illustration of their family gathered around a decorated tree in 1848, the tradition exploded in popularity across Britain and America. Next, let's talk about caroling. Singing songs to celebrate the seasons is a tradition that predates Christmas itself. Ancient pagans would sing and dance around stone circles during the winter solstice. The word carol actually meant a dance or a song of praise and joy. For a time, the church looked down on these festive songs. But in the 13th century, St. Francis of Assisi helped revive the practice by incorporating joyful, community-based songs into nativity plays. This shifted carols from their pagan roots to Christian themes, telling the story of Jesus' birth. Over time, wandering minstrels spread these songs from town to town, creating the door-to-door caroling we know today. Now for that romantic little plant, mistletoe. Its story begins with the ancient Druids of Celtic Europe. They considered mistletoe a sacred plant with magical properties, believing it could ward off evil spirits and bring good luck. Because it blossomed even in the dead of winter, it was also seen as a symbol of life and fertility. The Romans had a similar tradition. During the festival of Saturnalia, enemies would reconcile their differences under mistletoe, which was a symbol of peace. The tradition of kissing under it likely evolved from these ancient beliefs about fertility and peace. As Christianity spread, the church reinterpreted the plant's evergreen nature as a symbol of Christ's eternal life. What about the tradition of giving gifts? This practice has multiple roots. The most well-known origin is the story of the 3 magi, who brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh to the infant Jesus. This set a precedent for gift-giving as an act of worship and celebration. However, the Romans also had a major influence. During their winter festival Saturnalia, they exchanged small gifts, like pottery figurines or candles, to bring good fortune. The modern, widespread practice of Christmas gift-giving didn't become common until the 18th and 19th centuries, largely driven by a new focus on family and children. In America, the figure of Santa Claus, popularized by poems and advertisements, cemented gift-giving as the centerpiece of Christmas morning. And what about the beautiful wreaths we hang on our doors? The wreath's circular shape has long been a symbol of eternity, with no beginning and no end. Ancient Romans would hang wreaths on their doors as a sign of victory and status. For Christians, the wreath took on new meaning. The prickly leaves of the holly wreath came to represent the crown of thorns worn by Jesus, while the red berries symbolized his sacrifice. Over time, it evolved into a welcoming symbol of Christmas hope, inviting the spirit of the season into the home. The Christmas we celebrate today is a rich blend of these ancient pagan rituals, Roman festivals, and Christian stories. It was the Victorian era, with its emphasis on family, charity, and nostalgia, that truly cemented the foundations of our modern Christmas. Queen Victoria and Charles Dickens, through his novel A Christmas Carol, shaped our image of a perfect Christmas filled with trees, feasts, and goodwill. Today, for many, Christmas has become a more secular holiday, dominated by commerce and cultural festivities. Yet its spiritual meaning continues to resonate. The traditions we practice, whether decorating a tree or singing a carol, connect us to centuries of human history. They remind us of the enduring power of light and darkness, of life in the midst of winter. So when we wish someone a Merry Christmas, we're not just sharing a simple greeting. We're tapping into a deep, collective history of hope, peace, and shared humanity. It's a phrase that reflects our desire for joy and connection, a light that shines even in the darkest of times. The story of Christmas is a story of how traditions evolve, taking on new meanings while keeping their ancient magic alive. Thank you so much for watching and joining me on this journey through the story of Christmas. I hope you found this deep dive into holiday history insightful and enjoyable. What do you say in your family? Merry or Happy Christmas? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed learning about these traditions and stories, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration. Merry Christmas, everyone, and until next time, stay curious.